Just a Thought, a show that starts with a simple premise and explores how different people view different subjects. The greatest philosophies, the most revolutionary changes, and the greatest inventions. And all of them started with just a thought.
What it do, good people. Happy Sunday, the 14th. We coming to you live-ish, as we're not on camera currently, um, from the 202. And if you don't know why we're here from the 202 all the way to 810, it's because 810 is nationwide, or at least we'd like for it to be. Especially if you would help us out by make sure that you share the show. Make sure that you also like the show. And if you have not subscribed to 810 News Media Group, I don't know why you would not have, but make sure you do that as well. I see we had common sense to drop through to say hello, and so we appreciate you. And everybody else that joins us on the chat. I think it's going to take a little minute. You know, this chitlin surface, um, my bad. This chitlin circuit hours are hard, so we know people are joining us. All right, I see I ain't going nowhere. Good evening, family, all the way from Philly, and then we got Me Freaks Barbecue in the space. Go ahead and talk to the people, Anna.
Good, good evening, right? It's good evening, right? Yeah, that's right. 7 o'clock. Good evening on a Sunday. I'm over here trying to get two things done at the same time. Lord's willing, if the creek don't rise tomorrow, I will be having surgery on my foot. So I'm trying to get a lot of things done, and I'm glad that we have the chance to kind of like talk to y'all today about some things that been going on in our nation's capital and some things that we've all seen on the news this week. And so I'm happy to come back on here on this beautiful Sunday. And thanks for all the people that continue to log on and again continue to draw your show your support. Can't even talk right to A10 News Media Group and continue to send monetary funds because at the end of the day, A10 needs to keep going because as you know, doing receiving some benefits from the water, and some still have not received anything. So we still got people in DC and people in need in Flint, Michigan. All right, Yogi G.
What? I'm gonna say good morning to Sister Row. Oh shit! Look at that. My bad, y'all. That's how you know we tired. We gotta change the hours on this chitlin circuit. But good evening, Sister Row, and also Sister Felicia Martinez is joining us in the chat. What we talking about today, Anna? Anna, I think we've lost Anna. I don't know, good people. I don't know where Anna went. Oh, there she go.
Do you hear me?
No, I didn't hear you.
Oh wow, I can see the screen and everything. Lord have mercy. Okay, so you asked, what are we going to talk about? Well, there's a lot of things going on. But as far as just want to send out prayers real quick out to, and I know it didn't happen in the United States of America, but a couple of people that were Holocaust survivors were actually murdered in Sydney. I think it was Sydney, Australia at Bondi Beach. So just want to give out because I do have a lot of friends that are in that community and they're feeling it, even though it didn't happen here in the U.S. There still was some people there that go on vacation, and it was a tragedy that happened in Bondi Beach. Also, want to shout out prayers this week for Brown University, where two people were murdered, shot. It actually while they were taking their finals at Brown University in the engineer and physics um, area of the school. asked why were there students there on a Saturday. Don't know, but I do know that finals was this week, and Yogi G's in college herself, so I do know that it's the end of the semester. So a lot of people are taking finals. So people are where they're supposed to be. It's unfortunate that people are just hateful and don't want people to succeed in life, and are willing to take people's lives off of just anything. Go ahead, Yogi.
Yeah, it's a truly an unfortunate and unsettling events when it's totally unsettling to know that people are moving drastic measures to start unaliving people because of their personal beliefs, but so is the temperature that has been created, in my opinion, by this administration. And as somebody who is currently in college, it's unsettling. I'm kind of in a good spot where I don't have to go on campus physically for all of my courses, but certainly with the uptick in these tragic things occurring across the nation, it is something to be more hyper alert about. I want to take a time to welcome the people in the chat. Michael Barringer, thank you for joining us. Good evening, good evening. Sean Clyde, thank you for joining us. And Hope Beasley, thank you for joining us in the chat. Make sure as y'all join us, hit that like button and make sure you share. Back on you, Anna.
So, so in our city, with Yogi G, you can hear it's a lot going on because right now, I don't know if we talked about this. I don't think we did. A couple people in position are actually stepping down. They are not running again. So, of course, I think we talked about our mayor not running. We talked about our at-large council member Anita Bonds not running. We talked about our chief of police has stepped down, um, and we got a plethora of people that are stepping down from other areas, not necessarily being elected um, position, but people are shifting in what they want to do. So this is the time. I mean, if we're DC, for us to really pay close attention, and it's good that we have organizations that are out here that are preparing people for what is next. I went to Ward 7, Ward 8 prayer breakfast, and in there was a lot of course, the faith community. And in this room, of course, the people that are running for positions come into this room, but also faith leaders, community, and community members and people that just want prayer for what's going on. And in that room, it was a lot to learn. So for instance, we have always getting her name wrong. She is currently our Ward 4 council member. Just to give you a quick thing, real quick, we have had in the last three actually. I think it's three. Correct me if I'm wrong, Yogi G. Ward 4 resident become a mayor of DC. Adrian Fenty, Mira Bowser, and I don't know if Anthony Williams is from Ward 4, but I think he is. Correct me if I'm wrong. And now we have Janice Lewis George, who is a Ward 4 council member running for mayor. So Ward 4 has been literally kind of running for mayor for now. But we do have someone in Ward 5. He says audio is not good. I don't know what to do. Do I need to go louder? Can you hear me,
Still
Yogi?
hear you. I can still hear you, but it's a little muffled. I'm
Oh,
thinking that might be what common sense is talking about.
oh, okay. I don't know how to fix that.
I can hear you
So,
now.
okay.
Let us know, common
Sorry.
sense.
Thank y'all for letting us know. But all I'm to say is uh, we have one part of the city where we have always known for people to generally run for mayor. And Ward 4 is known for their people always voting, especially their senior population. And now we have finally, I don't think he's put his bid in, Yogi G, but there is talks of Kenya McDuffie, who's a Ward 5 who used to be my council member, running for mayor. But then we also got levels even higher than that. We have, oh my God, Yogi, I was looking on Department of Board of Elections, and I saw over 11 people running for DC delegate. And the current DC delegate, Eleanor Norris Holmes, has still not said that she will not be running. So I wonder how that race is going to be. I know that me and you know a lot of the people running. Some of them we know even more than others. Um, but we're just in a climate where chaos is happening around the world. What you see what's going on in Venezuela, what you see what's going on in Argentina, what you see that's going on in uh, now Australia. You see things that are going on in Europe. You see different parts of Africa dealing with issues, finally getting free from ignorance of other countries who have had so much over their heads. And so while the world is changing, here in our nation's capital, we have people stepping down. And so now we are going to be a city with this new thing that we talked about last week, which is ranked choice voting. And so we don't know what the outcome is going to be in DC. And so, what's your thoughts, Yogi G, with all these people running over 11 people running for one spot? And according to ranked choice voting, it's supposed to only be 5 chances to rotate. So, what happens with these other people?
My bad. So what happens with the other people if we only have 5 spots? I have no idea. As ranked choice voting is new to all of us here in the District of Columbia, what I do know is that it is prime real estate for any and everybody that has a heart to be close to power, to come on in and uh, take up some space. So it's definitely something to watch. But I do also want to kind of go back to one of the people that you talked about that stepped down, which is our current or maybe former now police chief Pamela Smith, who was catching a lot of flack, especially when we're in our first phases of takeover here in the District of Columbia about her not standing 10 toes down on not working with ICE. And there was confusion or miscommunication about how the mayor and her team were presenting, whether or not ICE was working or MPD was working alongside ICE. And now that she has stepped down, there's some new trauma, new drama unlocked. And loaded, they're saying now that allegedly our police chief is being cited for creating an environment that encouraged misinformation when it comes to some of our biggest cases and really how bad crime was in DC. In other words, to keep it simple, stupid, she was cooking the books and bringing her team in with it. So now, before she nicely or tries to gracefully leave out of these DC streets, they said, come back here, boy. And that's what we got going on. They're going to be coming up and trying to see if she really was cooking the books or um, making it impossible for us to get a real view on how crime really is in the District of Columbia. In addition to her stepping down, we have two. We don't elect our chief of police. Our chief of police here in the District of Columbia is appointed usually by our mayor. And so the word on the street or the word on the curb is that she has two new male candidates, which have problematic history. One being having a domestic violence history, and then there's another one who has a few cases against them for misconduct with our community members, especially in our primarily black areas like Ward 78. So, either way, bad news on the horizon for us in our legal departments or our law department. So, as always, y'all continue to pray for us here in DC as we go through this shift. Back to you, Anna.
Did you, for some reason, I went out, so I ended up having to come on my phone. I don't know what's going on with the internet. But so I kind of caught the end of what you were saying. Were you talking about the sheriff, you're talking about two new people coming in to be for MPD?
Yes, there's two new candidates, allegedly word on the curb. One white gentleman whose name I do not have, and one black gentleman whose name I do not have. Both are higher ups in the police department currently, but all both also have troubling past, as some of our organizations, advocacy organizations, have been highlighting. So that's what I was talking about.
Um, I don't know. Do you remember when we've had a couple times where we had women chief, and do you remember Kathy Lanier being chief of police?
I
And
remember
she,
it.
and she what she did when she left, she became NFL's literally NFL secured. I think something with security. And then the last guy we had, gosh, how could I forget his name? From he ended up going to Philadelphia and being the chief of police. Do you remember him? The heavyset black guy. Can't think of his name.
No, it probably was when I was,
More
in
younger.
my younger years.
Yes. So I was shocked that when we got this new chief of police, and we had the other guy. You remember the other guy that we just recently had? I wasn't in favor of the last chief of police, and it wasn't that I didn't. I wouldn't say that he wasn't doing his job. I just think that he had, in my opinion, too much control from above him and what he was able to do. And I felt like he wasn't being transparent enough. And around the time when he was chief of police was when my daughter's three classmates were, life was ended. And I'll never forget when the young boy, and my mind is not getting his name right now, but when Karan was killed by the DPR employee at uh, Turkey Thicket, they were not giving the information out. And so the community was making assumptions on who killed Karan. And it's unfortunate that this is where Karan played and did a lot at, where an employee who saw this boy every single day took this boy's life. And I felt like the police at that time did not do their due diligence to speak to the community. But fast forward, we got the new lady, and right when she came in, here we go with this new administration. And I don't know if you remember, like when she came into position, she was introduced as the intern. We conversed with her. We probably seen her at different outings. Me and you saw her at the Ward 5 event with Zachary Parker doing the Ward 5. But then after that. Then of course the administration changed, and so when Trump came in, this is where I'm getting to this conversation. I felt with her, she no longer had control after Trump came into office. It just wasn't told to us. And then she left out. Remember, she was walking around when she came back. She was going for a minute. Everybody kept saying, MIA. Where's she at? MIA. Where is the chief of police? And then you saw her with her cast on her foot. But I don't know if you saw on the news the other day that when she said she was stepping down, her and Muriel Bowser actually used the same verbiage. Did you see that?
Nope, I've been studying.
Well, it just makes me think that how can two different positions, one an elected position and one not an elected position, have the same exact kind of like like statement of saying we are no longer going to either run or we're no longer going to be in this position as we speak right now. Um, what's your thought on that? Like, one is an elected official, but one is a chief of police who's been MIA, came back hurt, and then now we're just finding out, which still has not been said from our mayor, that Trump pretty much is running this city.
What's good evening, Wanda Smith. Thank you for joining us. Well, once again, as I say when I join the chat on Fridays, I am currently in school for journalism and media strategies, and I'm sharing this information that I pay thousands of dollars to obtain and possible plantation time just to share here in the Good 810 family group chat. Um, from a media standpoint, everything is scripted. You have to be on the same page when it comes to hierarchy, and especially making sure that people feel like that you are in unison of sorts. So I'm not surprised to hear that they both had the same verbiage it's the same thing that you'll notice if you're looking at like the Fox Fives and the CNNs, and I owe the chat of 810 a good members only with Mick in regards to the big six conversation in media and why we will often see the same verbiage happen in these different spaces. But I think also it's kind of by design, especially as we often remind people, it's the nation's capital. We're like the canary in the coal mine here. They are likely to unroll a lot of the things that they want to see happen in other parts of the United States here first, because we have the least amount of resistance, because we don't have the power, the same autonomy as places like Michigan or places like Chicago, to have people go to bat for us. This is why you have seen people really upset with our mayor about how she has approached the takeover of this administration in of the District of Columbia. But if we were to be really honest, there's not too much that she can do to exemplify power, because, to be honest, we don't have power here in the District of Columbia. This is why it's important for us to be on platforms like 810 News Media Group to talk to those that are in Michigan and beyond. Because if we should ever, and I'll speak it into existence, when we regain power, even though I'm still trying to find the belief in that, uh, that you guys will remember that we need help too, and we should have autonomy over how we run our city just as well as any other state and cities have. So those are a few of my thoughts on that particularly.
Do you think with her stepping down, a couple questions. Do you think with her stepping down is because, give you a couple reasons, just give me your back on what your thoughts are. Do you think she's stepping down because she has no pretty much control over the city, or do you think she's stepping down for something that might be coming down the pipes?
Well, her approval rating currently is doo doo. Like, people have no faith in her leadership outside of her regular schmegular cronies and those people that are still delusional about where her allegiance lies as to developers versus community. So I think that the writing is on the wall here in the District of Columbia for us. I'm not trying to totally, give up hope or belief that we can win. But there are a lot of cards stacked against us in the District of Columbia, and the fact that we have so many people who have sat in our council and in power for since like 2015, some of them since the 90s, and now here we are when we need you the most. Maybe not, but it would just be comforting to probably see some of the old guards still fighting for DC and not jumping ship like we're on the Titanic. I think that the writing's on the wall, and we don't have the manuscript for what's coming down the pipeline. So, in short, I think that it is what's coming down the pipeline that are making us see everyone evacuate currently in the District of Columbia.
Well, I know you remember. Um, I don't know if it was our second show or our third show. I had came on here and I was talking about how DC was being accused of faking their numbers on crime. So there's a report out right now as we speak. Um, so you remember when Trump came in office, the first thing he did was, of course, federal law. He put his enforcement surge on DC, basically saying effective, I don't know if it was July or August, if my memory serves me right, effective that time that he was declared a crime emergency with the District of Columbia, which allowed him to bring in um, the National Guard, right? At the time he brings this, he had, in order for him to do this, he has to prove, well, he didn't have to prove anything. Let's get this straight. This man does whatever. Normally you have to prove that there is a reason for this. And if you remember when I did the show, I was showing you how an officer had whistleblow on the MPD saying that MPD was significantly the numbers, pretty much misreporting the numbers, changing um, basically if it would have been a felony to a misdemeanor, not making the incidents as in charging or court wise, and they were lowering the numbers on how they were reporting these crimes. And according to this thing, they're blaming Chief Pamela Smith as being the one that told these officers to pretty much change on how they reporting these crimes. And if you remember, about a month ago, it was in the news that Muriel Bowser denied, where they were saying Trump had some, supposedly has some down the pike coming, where he was going to be investigating her on. Remember, she went to some trip and supposedly she used government money. But it just, in all this that I'm saying, it just makes it crazy, because when Pamela came in, stuff was already in. She came as an interim not that long ago from when Trump came in. And so this is the narrative they're pushing. Do you remember earlier when we were talking earlier how the girl, um, which is another story, something happened in the news, and then the news spins it to make it seem as if, like you said, you're going to school for journalism. They put this out to change the narrative, and then they start to pair it up with their decisions in government. And so what I'm seeing here is they're constantly showing us these crimes. But as far as I'm concerned, I've been in DC going on 30 years, and crime is nothing like it was when I first moved to nation's capital. What's your thoughts on that?
I totally missed all of that. Um, I guess I think that like DC has always been DC, especially since the '80s. I haven't known it to have a space where crime hasn't existed, but so is any other city and state, right? I think that for money purposes, they probably did try to change the narrative because at one point we had a lot of unalivings happening here and a lot of things that were youth sponsored, and it was mayhem. Our week, you could not catch a wink of peace of mind because the media was flooding us out with every day something tragic was happening. It made you feel as if you couldn't even go outside of your door and just like walk down the street without catching a stray. Which in some spaces it felt like fear mongering because we also had everyone who was trying to come in. We had developers that were trying to get property. Our mayor was trying to, really push the narrative as to why they were increasing MPD presence. And then all of a sudden, it was a backtrack. Certainly, we were the safest city around. And it happened overnight. We didn't see as much promotion on media about all the unalivings and the crime and things like that. So I think that they put their foot in their mouth and didn't expect that there was going to be a turnaround of this administration hyper focusing on the district in the way that it did. So it pretty much backfired on them. The things that they were trying to put out there to manipulate us as a city ended up being something that was cutting them at the throat once it came down to the bigger picture of us having the National Guards coming in. It was too late to walk back what you had already laid before them. You contradicted yourself when months ago you were just talking about we needed more police officers, and we even had council members who have said that they wanted the National Guard to come in. So I think it's a mixed bag when it comes to it. It's real funky and fishy, I say, but here we are.
I guess I think about this week, I watch a lot of Lemon Nation. Don Lemon was talking about, I was watching his thing and he was talking about like rage is what they're selling. And I think about when we hear half of the council agreeing with having more cops and the other half not coming, it's just like, what is really going on? Who do we believe? I can only go by my experience of living here when I'm outside, when I'm going places. Um, DC, in my opinion, from before is a lot different now. Now, can I accurately say that things are not being manipulated? No, I cannot. I'm not there. I don't see what's going on. I can only test to what I experience, what I live, and what I walk through. I just think that now that media is literally like, let's just go back to Trump. He is pushing rage. Used to be sex sells, now rage sells. And so the more and more he pushes this rage, the more and more the conversation is, why are people not upset like they used to be? Um, because in DC, his assumption was that if he brought in all these National Guards and do something, that we were going to start fighting so he could start a war. In my opinion, these are common people's thoughts that people say. Doesn't mean it's true, but DC has stood strong since Trump has been in office, and it has not been a pretty thing. I mean, like right now, what is going on right now? You got him saying, you got the lady, I can't think of her name, with the crazy lady, the Republican lady with the, can't even think of her name, Lord help me. The one that pretty much said, after Euro went down into Mar-a-Lago and agreed with Mr. Agent Orange to take away Black Lives Matter, now wants to sit here and introduce Charlie Kirkland. I mean, like that's a slap in the face, right? But me as a resident here, am I gonna go down there and fight? Yes, we need to protest. Yes, we need to campaign. We need to organize. We need to do all those things. But that still does not justify for us to sit there and start acting a fool like the way those January Sixers did. And so, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I had a question for you. Like, do you think that we're really going to organize hard enough that it would stop them from making a Kirkway? Like, I asked that because when I'm in the community teaching about grassroots organizing, right? And grassroots organizing is when you are studying the practices of the civil rights movement and other movements alongside in the social justice space that have been utilized to be able for us to get, policy change and things like that. And what's happening, Kenneth? Thank you for joining us this evening. And so when we talk about an issue like Trumpsy Rumpsy wants to now earmark the streets that they once, like, they shamed our mayor. Oof, that correction, strike that from the record. They shamed Anna's mayor uh, for putting Black Lives Matter on the streets. And she used a good chunk of our budget to do that. Uh, and now you're proposing this one person in time has that honor of being recognized on the street for what? Now I don't know if this looks like them like taking the same route of like painting out CK Way on the street, or if this is just them putting marking the road like the directions or whatnot. But it's still egregious enough that yes, people should be upset that this is even a thing and that they're going to be using money to make this a thing. But then for us as a city, do you think that that's where our attention should be? Are we going to have enough people show up to like make a difference in that particular action that's happening?
I don't think so because we didn't even have a lot of people go out there and fight for it, Black Lives Matter to even be taken down. I mean, if you see how much money was spent to actually put that down, and the company that got the money to then have to come back and remove it, it wasn't an easy removal. But I didn't see the rage because the way it was pitched to us, this is the rage is being selective on how we're fighting in DC. And I just think, in my opinion, people are fed up. People are tired. Certain groups have more access to be able to be on the streets, time to take off, time to advocate, where others are like, I don't even know if I'm going to have a job with all those people that lost their job with the government. And so it's like you pick and choose your fight. Um, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to have the fight, but it's crazy, in my opinion, in my thought process, to not even take myself down there and have a say or say something about it, right? You need, like, you need more than just a couple people to be there to stop this, right? Uh,
Hmm.
but it starts from the top of it starts from the top. And if our mayor has not been amplifying the voices that she's been having coming down there and everywhere she's publicly speaking, and people are cooking out. I mean, if you're not addressing people's concerns, um, we're pretty much operating on. We have to be careful of how we amplify our voices, and so we're relying on, now people are getting educated on how to amplify their voices because now we strategically have to do it a different way. Um, Now, there's a lot. I'm not going to sit here and say we still don't need to march. We still don't need to, you know what I mean, have hours of protesting in front of stores like what y'all saw what the week before when Target, when Jamal Bryant came. I'll be honest with you. I sat there for a year and a half and didn't buy nothing from Target. But the reality is, Yogi G, there is nothing out here that I can continue to use my money to buy with the things that I need. And so it just happens that I had to take my butt up in there to go get something, which a lot of us have already done, whether we admit it or not. There's still people that look like me that are still going into that store. We can do weekly, monthly to take buy what we need. The reality is we still have to survive in this climate. Now, that does not mean because we have to survive in this climate that we do not amplify our voices. But I don't know what that's looking like in DC because we have been walking on eggshells since that orange agent came in because our mayor, in my opinion, I don't think she has been truly transparent, in
Well,
my opinion.
let me hop in here for a minute so you can take a breath. I wanted to look into what that dollar amount looked like since we were talking about Black Lives Matter Plaza. So, according to Google, it says that the permanent transformation of Black Lives Matter Plaza in DC cost around $4.8 million for the main construction. That's the plaza markings and an additional $3 million for amenities like benches and lighting, totally roughly $7.8 million. It was benches and lighting down there. I only went down there when it was real hype and everybody was emotional and they was dropping origamis on the fence. It was a beautiful moment.
Yo, BG, you gotta look at the streets and the bricks, how much money they spent.
Well, I didn't know that they had put trees and lighting down there and benches. I like I
It
said,
was beautiful.
I didn't see any benches down there. I didn't
Yeah.
go. I went when people were protesting and they were down there, and when it was fresh painted and stuff like that. That's when I went down there. When they had the gates up around the White House and everybody were leaving words of encouragement and things like that. I went down there then, so I hadn't visited if it had that upgrade of having benches and stuff. I said I missed out, you know. But I just thought that was interesting how much money went into that. And to your point, when it got ready to be tore down because it was ordered down, the fight wasn't there. So that's why I asked, like, I don't know. I wanted to chat. If you lived here in the District of Columbia, would you want to organize or like show up to say, hell no, we don't want no CK way here? Is it worth the energy or the effort, or is it just one of those things we just take with it, take with the good or the bad? I'm interested to know. All right, keep on.
Honestly, my thoughts is we do need to make our presence there. Um, really change anything? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say don't keep hope alive, but we do need to stress that component or make sure that anyone that we are going to sit here and put a vote for, they need to start talking about that now. And if they're scared because of their other voters in our community, then they need to make sure that they're educating those other voters to say, are you for democracy? Are you willing to walk alongside people who've been in this community, who've been doing the justice and I mean fighting for justice and I mean look, DC has history with civil rights. DC has history with changing. DC has history with the H Street when they killed Dr. Martin Luther King with the riots on H Street. We have history in DC that no other city. I mean, you could say LA with the riots, but it's nothing like our nation's capital. Every day that we come out of our house, we see people, the streets with police walking them, protesting for any and everything. Things that are right even here in America. We see people protesting for Palestine, for Israel. We see people protesting for immigration. We see people protesting crap for women's rights. Um, but it comes to a point where um, we we can't allow that our city has been taken over. Yes, it has, but we shouldn't rest our heads if we didn't try to make sure that that is in history, where they can show videography that in the future, if this does happen, that the people of the future will know this is something we got to make sure our ancestors know we did it and we removed it. Because it's the same thing with our ancestors before. They have left, they have been hurt, they have been through a lot, they have fought, and they passed the baton to us. So we got to make sure that we show the next generation by reporting, by protesting, by allowing this media to be seen across the whole world, but for that history not to be erased like so many times, which is what they're doing, throwing books away, burning up, burning up anything and everything to do with our history, which is full of democracy. And it's not always about race, but it's about democracy. And like I always say, I don't need you to be an ally. I need you to just fight for democracy. And so if you believe in democracy, then it doesn't become a race thing. Um, and I don't have to say thank you to someone that doesn't look like me if they're doing the right thing, because at the end of this life that we have, God, in my opinion, God has given us purpose. But how are we using our purpose? You tell me, Yogi, how are you using your purpose, especially in these times?
I'm using my purpose by making sure that I'm staying in my lane of expertise that God has given me. And that's to go out here and connect with people and tell them, are you seeing the same signs that I'm seeing? And does your tenfold hat connect to mine so I can build community? Because what I've learned is the people in power here in DC can sometimes be crazy and they're power drunk and they think they know it all. And quite honestly, I have to say, I feel some type of way because they do look like me. And we've had what, like since the 70s, since we obtained home rule, maybe a little bit before, black representation and leadership. And we still are struggling when it comes to our educational quality for all, especially black and brown communities. When we talking about housing conditions, we got people, senior citizens, children, women, everybody living in deplorable conditions with rats literally jumping out, shaking your hand out of drawers, while we got people partying down at the Navy Yard and the whole wharf where we can't even afford to even go get a whole marshmallow and some chocolates and all those things that people drive into our city to go do a vacation. We got people that literally are on yachts and cots catching it from Virginia that ship their way into DC to come partying and leave back out, and we paying more prices than they are. It's ridiculous. So now that we're here in 2025, and we got to make some decisions in 2026. DC has relied heavily on being Chocolate City, and that's having to show that we are united on the front and we are the beginning of what Black excellence can look like. But I'm here to tell you, as a daughter of DC, who has the responsibility of, at least in my educational space, making sure that I'm prepared to be an asset. And yeah, there's other factors as to why distractions came along, but just the reality of us knowing the black experience of being in the systemic oppression all the time, I got some beef with my city. And it's going to take some people, especially the old guards and the new ones, to express how you plan on making sure that we don't become and stay out. Well, we're already outcasts. Our mayor literally scooped our homeless people up with bulldozers. And then we're not going to talk about the people who are hiding in plain sight an inch away from homelessness that they despise. So DC got some work to do before we can start even hyper focusing on what's coming out at the Capitol. And isn't it a shame? And this is my last full soapbox moment. Isn't it a shame that in the District of Columbia, the most powerful place in the world, that we have had the excellence or the privilege of saying that we have ownership of the experience for all black people, that we have even failed each other. I don't know what to do with that. Other than sit and talk to my community members and hope that we can be better people and find better people to make it do what it's supposed to do so that we can be honored to be in the District of Columbia. I'm done.
Gotta ask one more question, and it's very easy. Give me two things that people can do to organize.
Show up to a space. One, you can educate yourself about what people have done in the past, and that's on your own time at your own pace. Two, see if there are organizations that are out here doing that kind of work so that they can help you get to know about the lifestyle and the commitment that it takes to be an organizer. Like people like um, Kwame Ture, and I think of people like uh, the congressman, like Emmett Till. Those are organizers. Those are people who made a conscious choice to make community their business in their lifelong journey. And that's what has gotten people excited about joining up arms to make some of these shifts that we have to make happen again because they walked us back like 20, 30, 40, 50 years out here. So those are two things that people can do today. You can start educating yourself about what it means to organize or be an organizer. See if it's something that like suits your heart, and then you know go ahead and link up with the community that's doing the work.
Is there, is there a difference you've seen in organizing in the new era of time, meaning from the past, from people in the past how they organized to the way people organize now? Have you seen a vast difference, or is it similar?
I think that there are a lot of similarities because we have to lean on the past to figure out at least the bones of what it means to organize and what it has taken for us to organize. As far as like things changing, I think the availability that we have in social media and connected to the digital age helps us to be able to connect with people faster than what our elders had available to them. As someone that is working to organize in 2025, I think that the value in us going back into the past is to start really getting the blueprint set for what it meant to organize in real time, meaning in a non digital space. Because, in my opinion, that is something that is get ready to get handled really quickly because we still have that autonomy to be able to put out our messaging like we're doing right now at 7:48 p.m. You and I are discussing the things that we could do to strengthen our community and strengthen how we are handling the things that we're experiencing under this administration. But they're also watching that as an Achilles heel to their plan to silence us and keep us dumb, deaf, and blind. And so we're going to have to go back to the drawing board of what our elders had to do, which is actually get out here and talk to people and knock on doors and hold people accountable for being in our communities. If you're not down with the plan of us making sure that everybody can eat and everybody's safe and everybody gets educated and everybody can show up to be an asset in the way that they have in their purpose, then you can't be in our community. That's plain and simple. And then there's the other part to it where we have a system that we're existing in because we're making choices to stay in the United States of America. Or some of us don't have the means to even leave. We're Kunta Kinte out here. We got a pair of crutches and a couple of bags that we got to take with us without having a choice. So we stuck here and we gotta figure it out how we cannot be on the side of evil because for us that are black and we can't change that, you see that people are finding out it don't matter how much you think they like you or how well you speak. A Negro is going to be a Negro in these United States of America as long as they got anything to do with it. So hey, we got some decisions to make.
How do you think people that have not experienced some of the things that we experience, how do you think they should come into this space of knowing on how to partner or even be a part of or even believe that it's something that they should put their time and interest in? How do you think that this other community is able to work with us?
Um, So, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that I lovingly call my community the Wahite uh, clan and others, who are not as heavily oppressed as my fellow Black community. I think that in this time, what may reawaken humanity and clear people's spaces is when they start seeing their own be battered and abused and bruised. Um, because I think that there's some value in that, right? And I don't wish violence on anybody. I'm not a hateful person. I love humanity in all its forms, as long as it's not savagery. And the part that exists is that we know that the clear people have an opposite side of them that are very savage and very brutal. And sometimes they have to be reminded that they're willing to do it to their own and they have to get upset. So I think that coming into spaces, especially in organized spaces, with that kind of energy and heart is helpful because then we could teach you the ways of how we're building community. Because anything other than that, you are considered to be an ops in my sight. Um, but I know other people have a more softer approach. But I don't think that these are soft times to amplify that in spaces that I'm advocating and organizing in.
Do you think that the way we're organizing in DC can be shared upon other cities? Like, for instance, we're on A10 News Media Group. Do you think the things that you have learned can be a plus if people wanted to, go out and teach this to other cities?
Um, I think that there are certain conditions that make people have a realization that they have to try something to build the numbers. Because in the art of war, numbers matter, manpower matters, and um, one of the beauties of this project that is the United States of America is that we do have a democratic stance um, that is dependent on all representations of those who get the privilege to be called a USA citizen, and that omits currently color and preference and things like that. So I think that for other places, there's a possibility that organizing can happen. It has happened, especially during the civil rights era. Um, and when it does happen, it could be a very powerful movement. And I would think that, people would want to start working on that instead of being reactive and trying to, hope and pray that you're working next to an ally. Um, but I get it that there are different circumstances, and I've had certainly conversations with Brother Mick about the challenges that spaces like Flint, Michigan may have with being able to achieve some of the things that we're able to make happen here in DC. So I think that there is certain processes that can start being implemented or at least considered, while others ones are going to take a little more fine-tuned conversations.
I can't see the chat. I thought someone posted something.
Oh, you, Raphael Bird, thank you, man. We appreciate you. Um, First of all, you never late. We appreciate you being in the chat. And then he said, in other words, when other races don't have anywhere to turn, they will looking elsewhere for help. Right, when you find out that you are on the ops list, then you want to get as much protection as you can. And sometimes people like to run to where they know we already kind of suited and booted and ready for war. But yeah, there's some things you're gonna have to atone for and profess before you have to get into some of these spaces now because we've been there, done that. And we're not creating those safe spaces for you to go back and turn into your racist ways. So uh, I appreciate that, Raphael.
I appreciate the comments. I really do. It helps us. Sorry that I am off camera. Tomorrow morning, of course, I have surgery. So it's a lot of things I'm trying to get done before, because I don't know how I'm going to be when I get up from surgery. So I want to make sure that I have everything together, especially in these times. Some of us have husbands, some of us have family members that live with us, but for me, it's me and my two girls. So sorry for y'all not having the camera on because I am trying to finagle and do several things at one time. But I appreciate y'all this evening for listening to our thoughts on Just a Thought. Um, and it's a lot going on. It's a conversation that continues to be needs to be happened. I try to speak on international issues that are going on, but right now the pressing thing for me, I don't know about you, Yogi G, is what our government is going to look like within the next year. And as you know, because DC is not a state, we have no voice. We have no voice, and unfortunately, because we have no voice. We have to sit here and have voices of people that are not from here. And I'm talking about different people in political spaces that are traveling back and forth to DC, patronizing, living, and going to their neighborhoods and changing things that were okay. But when there's things that need to be changed, they're nowhere around. And so this struggle for us here in DC is like, what you call the transient people. Um, and a lot of them need to, in my opinion, grow up and stop thinking that when they come to this city, that their way of living from where they came from should be placed here. Um, Eventually, we'll get to a space where people will recognize that you need to learn history. So, Yogi G, is there any books possibly out here you have read or documentaries you might have seen within before we close out to share with people to really know what DC is?
Man, YouTube is a wonderful thing for now. And if you get an opportunity to check out anything, I always tell people, listen, if you want to be in current time and find out how we got here, go ahead and check out The Cost of Convenience. It's on Tubi. And then if there's an app called Canopy, and that's Kanopy.com. We are not sponsored by them yet, but I have, if you have a library that participates with this particular website, you can check out what's the joint on I was telling you about. I was in it for 12 weeks, and it's just escaping me.
Oh, Rise Organization?
No, 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 no. The documentary that I
Oh,
was watching, and I was
1619? Was
upset.
it 1619?
We're gonna stick with that. Go ahead and find 1619. You can watch that too. But DC oriented, um, we'll find out, and I'll put it on brother. I'm gonna link up with brother Elliot and see if we can't get a couple of DC joints on the book club list because it's escaping me right now at 7:58. But I do want to say this as we get ready to close, if I may. Um, I'm always going to shout out Mick and the team for giving us space to tell our story here in the District of Columbia. And I know people tap in the A10 to hear what's happening in Flint, Michigan, because I tap in too, because it's crazy. But I do hope if you have heard our story, especially tonight, and anytime we get up here, we simply want you to be able to have this conversation on behalf of us, right? We're part of the A10 family too, and things are real here in the District of Columbia, and it's unfair that we got to go through it with some people that look like me and Anna. But then also that people come here and they spend money and they vacation, but we in here suffering as being people who are living 24/7 in these DC streets. So we appreciate you jumping in with us tonight in the chat. And we hope that we get to see you again, especially since the holidays are coming up. Be easy to yourself, good people. You know, the season of depression is real. Grief is hard. You know, we are also honored and are part of that club of that nobody wants to belong to, where you lost one of your major figures, either your mother or your father, and so, or anybody else that took care of you. It's hard times. So we just want to shout out and acknowledge that it's okay to say you're not okay and find somebody to give you a hug this holiday. We appreciate you, good people. I hope to see you guys maybe on Friday, Brother Otis. But if not, I'll see you in the chat on Monday. That's all on my side, Anna. I got a piece on my side. What say ye?
I got a piece too. Have a good week.
All right. All right, good people. Be safe and be well.